Leadership and War. This is Law and Society. Please subscribe. It's hard to believe that the current conflict between Iran and Israel can be traced back to biblical times. Hard to believe that the normal that the world lost after 9/11 has still not returned and probably never will. Over time, our barbarity has only taken new form. Despite sermons by prophets of peace, despite sacrifices by the bravest among us, humanity has not left barbarity behind. We have just changed form. If anything, we have become more brutal, prejudicial, and divisive. Why do we fight? Why do we quarrel? Why do people not understand the destructive capacity of conflicts? Is violence an inherent part of life? Even unnecessary violence? How and who decides what violence is necessary or not necessary? World leaders seldom make wise decisions when they send militaries to carry out their will. Ego, competition, and a false sense of righteousness drives world leaders who impulsively choose the path of war and violence. None of those qualities consider the very real, deadly consequences those on the battlefield face. Few leaders see the bigger picture. Fewer still consider the deadly consequences of war. It is easy for those sitting in their ivory towers to send regular working people to war. Would they make the same decisions if they personally had to lead a battle? Would they make the same decisions if their children were being put in harm's way? At least in olden days, heads of militaries and heads of states joined their armies on the battlefield. They physically led their wars, and they themselves put themselves in harm's way to accomplish their imperial goals. That took courage and an understanding of the real consequences of going to war. Today's leaders don't lead their armies on the battlefield. Today they watch regular people and their children fighting and dying on big screens thousands of miles from the front lines. That is not courage. That is calculated cowardice. I don't know if human beings will ever stop fighting. I sure as hell don't see it happening in my lifetime. But should we stop fighting? If we consider ourselves civilized and see ourselves as advanced, it is incumbent that we find better, peaceful solutions to conflicts we face. If our leaders see themselves as emissaries of peace, they must understand the burdens their commitment to peace bestows on them. But today we see the opposite. Today's leaders choose peace through war. They claim their decisions will bring peace. They claim their enemies are the real warmongers. They shift blame and make impulsive decisions that cost lives. To defeat great evils, violence is sometimes necessary. Wise leaders deliberate and exercise restraint in deciding when, in what manner, for how long, and to what end they send their militaries into harm's way. But today's leaders are not wise. They are impulsive. They are destructive. They don't contemplate the consequences of their decisions. They don't seek to end evil as much as they seek to win. Those are two very different objectives. Until we find a way to end violence in society, we cannot call ourselves civilized. As long as we harbor hatred in our hearts, we cannot achieve peace. As long as we refuse to understand different perspectives, we will never see the error of our own ways. Leaders must learn to reflect, to realize the greater good, to consider the greater harms when making decisions that will inevitably cost human lives. If we live in democracies, the responsibility of picking leaders who understand the bigger picture falls on us. At the end of the day, who we are manifests into who leads us. To that end, responsibility falls on citizens to choose wisely. It is a heavy burden, but responsible citizens of democracies must take this responsibility. It is an integral part of self-rule. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you soon.